This is transvestigation, by the way. Like, this is transvestigation taken from the outside of the body to the inside. Now this person wants to scan your brain and say, oh, but are you really trans? Oh, we must take out the scalpel. We must dig in and check to see if you are a real trans before you can enter the bathroom. So in the trans community, there is a group of people known as true scum, aka transmedicalists. For the purposes of this video, I will be referring to them as transmedicalists. That's just the term that I know, and it's the official term that they prefer. Okay? Not that, you know, I think that, you know, the overwhelming majority of transmedicalists are just bad faith actors who are trying to gatekeep, you know, medicine for trans people. And so I frankly don't think they deserve that respect, but I will give it to them nonetheless. Transmedicalism, what is it? Basically, you have trans people, right? And if you're transgender, and like, let's say that I just now find out that I'm transgender, right? And I'm a woman. I have this revelation right now. Alec Gunter is now a woman. Not actually happening, but let's just say for all intents and purposes that that's happening. I am now trans. I am now a trans woman, okay? Don't clip that. I am now... But in that scenario, that's how that would go, okay? Regardless of the beard and the shoulder width and everything else, I'm now a trans woman, okay? And then I would probably begin the process of actually physically transitioning my body, medically transitioning my body to look more like a woman, usually. Not necessarily, but usually, right? 99 times out of 100. So transmedicalists are under the impression that until you begin that medical process, you are not a real trans person, right? Like, you're not actually trans until you actually go through the hormone therapy and the surgery and all this. And I think that's very silly and degrading, honestly. I don't agree with that worldview. I don't. Because I believe that gender is simply a social construct that needs to be done away with. Okay? People need to live their lives, express themselves how they would like, and just be people. We don't need men and women. We just need people. Okay? We just need people. All that being said, the reason I'm explaining all of this is because this person was brought to my attention in the Discord. And if you're not in my Discord and you would like to be, you can suggest videos in there. So check out my Discord link in the description below. It's in every video. But anyway, this person, Godless Snowshoe, was brought to my attention. And they have a little under 2,000 subscribers. But nonetheless, their videos actually do pretty good view-wise. So I decided I'd give them a look and just see what's going on here. And potentially, you know, I'll keep an open mind. You know, I'll keep an open mind. The video is called Transmedicalism Explained by a Transmedicalist. Stop assuming what we believe without asking. Let us proceed.
So I had a request for this video. I cannot remember who said it or where it was said, but I'm going to make it anyway. It's basically just to talk about the basics of what transmedicalism and true scum is, because unfortunately, most people who even know what the word means did not hear about it or learn about it through people who actually hold that belief, but through people who don't like us, said something rude about us, they asked what it was, and then they gave a derogatory explanation, as opposed to...
We don't like you because of the things that you've said. That's a legitimate reason to not like you.
Going to people who actually believe in it, or communities for people with those beliefs, and saying, hey, what's up? I don't get this. Can you explain it to me? Kind of like going to a conservative...
Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit because I know that I just got a jab in. I'm going to be as good faith as possible here, okay? We are going into this with a fresh understanding of transmedicalism. Our minds are open to the idea that transmedicalism is cool and normal.
Christian and asking what being gay is, it's not exactly the best source.
Hold on. So what are they comparing this to? Unfortunately, most people who even know what the word means... Sorry, I'm like rewinding the whole video. Whatever, just play it.
About it or learn about it through people who actually hold that belief. But
okay, I see. So they're saying that, like, they'll go to trans people who are not true scum and say, oh, I said it already. Transmedicalists. We're using transmedicalists. They'll go to people who are not transmedicalists and ask about what it is. I guess, but like, if like, that's like saying, well, you don't really like go up to real Nazis and ask what that's all about, right? You're just bigoted against Nazis. It's like, no, that's not how that works.
Who don't like us said something rude about...
Not that transmedicalists are always comparable to Nazis. I'm just giving you guys an example. Before anybody, the outrage machine fires up.
Over some basic things, some areas where transmed people disagree with each other, and also what the ultimate goal of this is, as opposed to the kind of alternative live and let live. If someone wants to identify as cat gender, it's not hurting anyone, and
Yeah.
why we think that it is hurting people, and how we think the best way to stop that is. So let's get into it.
All ears, just like this avatar.
So I'm just going to start off with a very basic bare bones definition. There are two ideas that are required to be transmed. Some people would argue it's just the first one, but generally these two. You need dysphoria to be trans. And
already wrong. No, you don't.
And being trans is a biological or medical phenomenon. And
I think it's closely intertwined with medicine, but not by necessity. That is simply a result of like gender norms in society, and also like if you are transsexual, like okay, like if you have body dysphoria, okay, as a trans person, then you need to get medicine involved. But that's an issue with body dysphoria, not necessarily with being trans. I can have body dysphoria as a cis male with tits. All right, it's the same concept, exactly the same concept.
And I would like to note with the dysphoria thing, a lot of people who hear that think that that means you need to suffer to be trans. But unfortunately, a lot of people also misconstrue.
Dysphoria is suffering. Dysphoria is suffering, okay? If you have dysphoria, that describes a state of suffering. So if you are saying, yes, you must have dysphoria to be trans, then you are saying, yes, you must now be or have at some point suffered in order to be trans. And that is simply not the case.
What dysphoria is when disagreeing with that statement. Dysphoria does not have to be writhing on the floor and trying to cut your tits off.
Nobody said that. Dysphoria is a disorder, and it's better to not have it.
Definition.
And the treatment for it is gender affirmation.
A state of unease, discomfort, or dissatisfaction.
Yes, suffering.
So if someone calls you the wrong pronouns and you get a little uncomfortable, that is dysphoria.
Yes.
If you are crying because you can't.
And that is a form of suffering, okay? Not a big one, but you're still suffering. If I stub my toe, all right? You know, it's reasonably hard. Oh, shit, well, that hurt a little bit. I suffered. That's suffering, okay? It's a strong word to use, but it's still suffering nonetheless. In a gross way. When I say gross, I mean like just a strictly by the books way. That's what I meant.
Can't have top surgery. That is dysphoria. Both of those things are dysphoria. Dysphoria can be immense suffering, and it can be mild discomfort. It does not need
which
to
is still
be
suffering.
A whole I want to die thing. And
Nobody said
I think
that.
Most people know that we believe this, and it is a straw man to make it seem like, oh, you think trans people deserve to suffer.
Wait, you just did a straw man by saying that, like, we believe that you have to be like, dysphoria means you're on the floor dying. That is a straw man.
Words in our mouth and say that, but that is not what it is. It's simply,
unlike this person would do, put words in our mouths, right?
Saying you need to experience discomfort with your birth gender to be trans. Now, going to the
you just call me a slack jaw? I think not.
Things, I will have scientific sources for this in the description, as well as a video where I go more into depth on this, because that would take like 20 minutes on its own to make that video. But I'm going to go over a basic understanding of what trans meds mean when we
sorry, I don't want to assume here, let's just check real quick and cover our bases. Although a lot of trans meds don't have their pronouns. Okay, he, him, sorry. What I was saying is he argues with this person that he's arguing with right now in the shower. Okay? This is a shower argument. That's called a straw man.
Say that being trans is biological. There are a plethora of studies that have been being done since the 90s up until multiple done this year that prove that brains are sexually dimorphic. And that
I don't care. And also, I don't know how true that is. I think there are like some differences, but like it doesn't matter. Okay, so what if a cis woman has like a male brain but still wants to be a woman? Oh, do we do brain? Here, let's just do brain scans on everybody, right? Let's do brain scans on everybody. Just line up for your brain scan when you turn 11 or 12 or whatever. And then if your brain scan tells us that you're supposed to be a man, then we'll transition you. Oh, sorry, Timmy. You don't want, sorry, Tammy. You don't want to be Timmy? Oh, well, too bad. Your brain says otherwise. Get in the trans machine, right? That's not how that works. And you don't think that either, okay? I'm not saying you think that. I'm saying that's the natural conclusion of your logic.
That this phenomenon applies to trans people in a
Unlike-
way that their brain
Unlike you, I don't ascribe opinions to you.
is structured more similarly to the gender they identify with than
Unless
the
you
gender
say
they
them.
were born as.
Which you've
And
said so
I'll
many
explain a
interesting
little bit
ones
more what
already.
this means, like what it regards in a sec, but I do want to acknowledge a lot of people, when this is brought up, say those studies have been disproven. Again, I would like to note that there are well over 100 of
I don't care if they've been disproven or not. What does it do for us? What do those studies do for us? What is the purpose? Besides like a gross understanding, once again, gross used as like, you know, by the books understanding of how this stuff works. That's the only reason that we would want to know. Just like a gross need for knowledge.
of them.
Unless
However,
you can
this is
explain
never
otherwise.
backed up with a source or any statements from the involved researchers. A lot of the time, it comes down to hearsay.
I just want to get out of the shower ASAP, not argue with made up person. I argue with made up people all the time. How do you think I got so good at debating?
Heard it from someone else. I can't substantiate it.
Difference is I argue with real points.
And occasionally, it will come to professionals in other areas or professionals who are in that area but did not actually work on those studies, saying that they are skeptical of the results. Which
I'm saying that I don't care about them. You have not given me a reason to care about these studies, even if they are true.
It's fine to be skeptical. That's a good thing. I support that. But there's a difference
good.
between being skeptical and taking someone saying, I don't know about that, and turning
By the way, the good faith's gone. He's already strawmanned us, so the good faith's gone.
it into this has been factually disproven. As far as I'm aware, and trust me, I have looked, none of the major studies in this area have been discredited. None of the journals have been discredited. None of the scientists have had any big scandals about faking
I don't
information
care.
or anything. They exist.
Why do
They
I
have
care
been
about
done
the study?
For decades. They are not perfect.
I'm literally about to skip forward. If this person's next sentence is still about this study, I'm skipping forward.
Like, I don't know, general
care.
relativity, but they are pretty conclusive.
Doesn't mean anything.
So if anyone does have statements from some of the more major large-scale studies like this, of the scientists who worked on them, redact, or anyone else that I've spoken about this with, a person with an education saying they don't agree with something is still their opinion. It is not a
Okay, but opinions can be weighed against each other. And my opinion is, I don't give a shit about these studies. Give me a reason to care.
objective research paper. So I just wanted to throw out that little, like, no, they have
Just
not
a little one that lasted like 4 minutes.
been disproven. You have been told things and did not feel the need to seek out sufficient evidence to decide you believe them. But I will do a very, very basic explanation
Are we
of
done
what the
yet?
differences are. Basically, men and
Thank
women,
God.
both trans and cis, have prefrontal cortexes that are different in both density and actual structure of gray matter folds.
No, we're still on this. Never mind.
And this is consistent among trans people, like I mentioned earlier. And this has also been used by a person's gender identity as women are men, as well as a big portion of your personality. However, are exclusively able to do certain things, it means that your brain functions not anything fundamentally relevant to people trying to say.
Yeah, what about intersex? That's a great point, NB pal. How about intersex people? What does an intersex brain look like? What does an XXY brain look like? How about an X brain or a XY Swire syndrome brain? I just love to know these things, you know? Oh, there's like a distinct male and female brain and nothing in between, right? You would almost say that there's a binary, right? No, that's freaking stupid. Everybody's got different brain, like different sizes of brain parts in their heads because we're all unique. And evolution is very messy, all right?
Women are meant for this, men
Doesn't
are
make
meant
any
for
sense.
this. It is
This is all
reason
pointless
why
knowledge.
Transmedicalist is called what it is, because it is
This is waffling. This is blood waffling, okay? Blood is waffling really bad. None of this matters.
medical. It is seeing transness through a medical lens. And
This is transvestigation, by the way. Like, this is transvestigation taken from the outside of the body to the inside. Now this person wants to scan your brain and say, oh, but are you really trans? Oh, we must take out the scalpel. We must dig in and check to see if you are a real trans before you can enter the bathroom. They have the trans police doctors stationed outside of the bathrooms now, giving brain dissections to everybody who dare try to enter the sacred women's restroom. That's what you want, right? Because clearly you care so much about this, they still haven't shut up about it.
in this case, neurology. But it's also the fact that a big portion of the reason
My
dysphoria, which
God.
is
Is
a
this
medical
whole video?
abnormality, and the way to resolve the problems that come from that medical
Okay.
abnormality is through transitioning. It is through top surgery, bottom
Yes.
surgery, hormones, facial
Not necessarily, but yes, typically it does involve those things. Yes.
reconstruction, what have you, whatever it is people are doing to achieve that. And I often hear people getting mad at the argument that it is taking away resources from people who need them.
That is a really stupid argument.
Of all,
The argument being, by the way, if you don't know, one of the arguments that transmeds give to in response to like transgender people who don't have dysphoria getting care, you know, like hormone replacement therapy. Like you can be trans, not have dysphoria, and still want to be the other sex, right? Like present as the other sex. That's totally possible. At the end of the day, it's just a preference, right? But it's a preference that you have the right to have. You know, you are allowed to present as a female for whatever reason you want. It doesn't matter if you have dysphoria or not. All right. And a doctor has the jurisdiction to give people medicine and care for whatever reasons they see fit. They're trained to do that. You're not trained in medicine, I would bet. Okay. I see you drawing. You're a very good artist. And I would not take that from you, but you're not a medical professional like me. Okay, so take it from me, which I'm not trying to appeal to my own authority here, but sometimes I do a little bit, you know, because I've studied this shit, so I know how it works.
I think these people highly overestimate how common and easy to access and cheap gender clinics are. Even in America
So
and the
what?
UK, where
That's
they
great.
are
No, that's great. Make them cheaper. They should be free. Oh wait, no, sorry. He's saying sorry, he was making a good point actually. He was saying that it's not a problem, right? That it's not a problem. Okay, sorry. We're on the same page still. Sorry. I
more
agree so
prevalent,
far.
there are still extremely long wait times for a lot of them, especially in areas
Oh
that
wait, no, we're not on the same page. Hold on. I got to replay this whole thing.
often hear people getting mad at the argument
I often hear people getting mad.
that it is taking away resources from people who need them. Um,
Oh, so he is making that argument. Got it. We don't agree. Sorry, I completely missed it. My bad. Yeah, you're stupid for that one.
First
Really
of all, I think
stupid.
these people highly overestimate how common and easy to access and cheap gender clinics are. Even in America and the UK, where they are more prevalent, there are still extremely long.
Okay, so sorry. We'll play it one more time for those in the back. Okay, pay attention because I had to replay it again too.
And I often hear people getting mad at the argument that it is taking away resources from people who need them. First of all, I think these people highly overestimate how common and easy to access and cheap gender clinics are.
Wrong. Incorrect. They could be very cheap and very easy to access if we had the proper laws in place, or the lack thereof, I should say.
Even in America and the UK, where they are more prevalent, there are still extremely long wait times for a lot of them, especially.
That's entirely a problem that is fixable without impacting the patient. You would not hold any other medical condition to this standard. I guarantee you. My diabetes is worse than yours, pal. So you don't get insulin, okay? You don't get insulin. I do. And that's because of you know, the artificial insulin shortage imposed on us by our betters, okay? So now you get to suffer for that. So you sit down and shut up. You don't get insulin, dumbass. My diabetes is worse than yours. Oh, you don't like that now, do you? Because you consider that a real medical condition, right?
In areas that aren't like super liberal, leftist, and they are still mostly not covered by health insurance. And this idea that
We shouldn't even need health insurance. Make it free.
being trans is just an identity, it's just a thing
Yes.
you do because it suits you or whatever, or
Yes.
you
It could be. It could be. That's totally valid.
identify that
It could
way.
be just a thing you do.
Creates two problems. One, it makes
If I say I'm a woman and somebody asks, why do you say that? I'm going to say, I could literally say it because I thought it'd be fun. I thought it'd be fun, you know, and it was. Now, granted, that's not typical, okay? It's very few and far between. Most trans people actually do suffer quite a bit. So I feel like we should focus on those people.
trans healthcare seem cosmetic and often be classified that way by insurance. And two,
Yeah, and they're stupid. Insurance does not. Okay, let's say that you get breast cancer, right? Breast cancer. And usually with breast cancer, it's unilateral. What that means is that it only occurs on one side. It's unilateral. And if it only occurs on one side, and the treatment is a mastectomy for breast cancer, they're only going to do the mastectomy on one side. Okay? And that, I'm sure a lot of you know this, that leaves you with one tit. Okay? So if you only have one tit, some women are fine with that, but others aren't. Okay? So they get an implant. And I consider that medically necessary. But guess what? A lot of insurance doesn't because they suck. Okay, stop kowtowing to insurance. Go lick their asses if you're so horny for them, man. Like seriously, I know that I'm being mean. I know this is mean, but like seriously, these are such dumb, brain dead arguments.
It perpetuates the idea that trans healthcare is not
I don't have to
necessary
listen to
for the
somebody
mental
shilling for
well-being
insurance
of the trans
companies.
person, which is not the case. However, a lot of these people will still go get top surgery or
Great.
hormones or whatever and do it as an aesthetic choice.
Cool.
Or
Good
do
for
it
them.
because they do have dysphoria and, like I mentioned at the beginning, understand dysphoria as immense suffering and not discomfort. But for the people who truly don't have dysphoria, it is simply a way to validate themselves
Great.
or to achieve an
Sounds
aesthetic
great.
goal.
Sounds like their lives are
While
better.
for the
I like it. Let's
trans
do it.
people who experience dysphoria, they could potentially kill themselves, harm themselves, end up hospitalized, whatever,
Okay.
be severely mentally ill
They can
due
get
to
it
their
too.
inability
They can all
to
get it.
access this necessary resource, while the clinics are being aggressively overcrowded. And
That's not happening. That you need to provide a source for that if you think that's happening. I would love to see a source. And if that is happening, by the way, let's say that it is. Let's grant you that. That's not my fault. That is not my fault. You know what's crowded? The ER. Okay? You know where I go if I have a stomach ache that is a 10 out of 10? I go to the ER. Maybe I'm just constipated. Doesn't fucking matter. I'm still going to the ER. All right? Doesn't matter how serious it is. That's where I go. Sometimes that is just the first step that you go to if you feel like something is, serious enough to warrant that, even if you haven't been shot in the chest, okay? Like other people in the ER have. And the ER is always wildly overcrowded. So why are we not talking about ERs? I just find that very interesting.
Issue in America and the UK.
It's way worse of a problem to me.
That isn't even referencing countries like Denmark that have one clinic for the entire country.
It is very infuriating.
And these wait times can be weeks to months to even years, especially
Okay, build more clinics. Done.
for surgeons. It's like with the formula shortage. If there was a childless woman with a baby doll and she goes and she buys formula, she buys a bunch of formula and she doesn't need it, but it's fun to her to feed it to her baby doll.
No. You're creating this. This is a false equivalency. There's no shortage of trans healthcare. Okay? Any shortage of trans healthcare is artificial. You are now building a natural shortage of formula, which is real. That does happen. Okay, and if that does happen, sometimes you need to ration it. That's real, all right? But usually, it's not a real problem with availability. Usually, it's just our corporate overlords saying that we don't deserve baby formula, okay? So if there is a real, legit shortage of formula as a result of lack of production, then yes, we ration it. And we would do the same with trans healthcare. But guess what? There's no legit shortage of trans healthcare. And until you can show me that there is, I don't buy this. It's bullshit. You're spewing bullshit.
All right, look, she doesn't need it, but she enjoys having it. If there wasn't a formula shortage, it wouldn't be an issue. It'd be a little like, why? But it wouldn't be a big issue.
And it doesn't matter why either.
However, there is a formula shortage.
And once again, if the shortage is being caused by our corporate overlords, I'm going to go after their asses. It don't matter why that lady's buying formula. It ain't her problem. It is not her problem and it's not her fault. Okay? If there's a legit shortage of formula, then yes, she would be the asshole. You guys understand what I'm saying? I feel like I'm being clear. Just, legit shortage versus artificial. That's all. This person is constructing a scenario in which there is a legit shortage of formula. Whereas in reality, there's an artificial shortage, if anything, which I don't even think that's true, but let's say it is, an artificial shortage of trans healthcare.
And she is using this very scarce resource for entertainment purposes. And it would also present an issue where
that's okay,
if it was totally normal for women to go buy scarce resources to feed a baby doll and everyone said, that's okay, that's cool, you should be allowed to do that. I'm not going to criticize that at all. That would result in the formula being even more hard to find for the people who need it, which parallels is that if it wasn't normalized for these
so guess what you do at that point? Go steal it. Go steal it from those rich fucks.
People to be going and doing.
I do condone stealing if it's to save somebody's life, especially a baby. I'm allowed to do that.
These things, then it would not be as hard for people to access them. And then trans healthcare may be seen as a necessity. It may not be seen as an aesthetic choice or something that you just kind of want. It is seen as a medical necessity. And then eventually, hopefully, that would lead to it being covered.
You're so insecure. This is bleeding insecurity, man. Like, what's going on? You feel like you have to validate yourself by comparing yourself to other not as trans people? That's pathetic, man. That's really pathetic.
covered by insurance and more clinics opening and having the resources more widely available. And then if people really want to go do that, then, go do it, whatever, because it's now accessible. But it still shouldn't be classified as trans healthcare if someone is not dysphoric, because it is aesthetic for those people. And it is a medical necessity for those of us who
You may consider it aesthetic. A doctor might consider it medically necessary.
are not those people.
Then
And
what?
one of the last things I want to touch on is the idea of non-binary, because this is a kind of split issue. A lot of people just automatically assume that trans meds are anti-non-binary, but
My take on non-binary is just as valid as other trans people. You're non-binary, great. Katie's non-binary, okay? Yes, non-binary is valid.
this is just like, I don't
And non-binary is still valid even if you still need trans healthcare, all right?
even know where this came from. It is generally not a widely held opinion. Most trans meds
It came from people not ascribing to one or the other gender, okay? The same way that being trans femme or trans masc came about. Exactly the same process, just in the middle.
believe in the idea of duo sex and null sex. Essentially,
Yeah, wait until they find out what American insurers think of dental care. My luxury mouth bones, right?
null sex being sex
So
dysphoria, body dysphoria that makes you want to be neutral, to be flat chested, and have neutral genitalia, or duo sex, meaning that
Okay, but dysphoria is on a spectrum, okay? We love talking about spectrums here, right? Dysphoria is on a spectrum. You can have dysphoria that just means you look in the mirror, you see tits, you're like, I don't really like those, but whatever. You move on with your day, right? Still dysphoria, but I could do without those. Okay? Well, going all the way to, if these tits don't come off my body right now, I will chew somebody's head off. Both of those are dysphoria on opposite ends of the spectrum. Okay? And you don't get to decide that, my friend. Doctors do. So f off.
you have dysphoria because you want, or not want, but you have dysphoria regarding the fact that you want both sex characteristics. And that is generally equated to agender versus bigender and more like common LGBT non-trans med terms. But the vast majority of trans med people support the idea of duo sex and null sex being non-binary, and believe that if you have dysphoria,
That's not true. You can be duo sex or null sex and be a man and or a woman or non-binary, whatever you want. It's gender. Okay, gender has no basis in biology.
and you
It's
are
completely
non-binary,
social.
you are non-binary, you are trans, you are whatever. And there are trans med people, often referred to as rad meds or radical transmedicalists,
Oh yeah, this person isn't radical enough. We got to go even more radical.
that don't support it, but they are not the majority.
Well, that's good
And
at
I
least.
know trans meds who are non-binary. Every trans med that I know is
And they
in
suck
support
too.
of non-binary. It's not as common as people like to think it is. It's basically saying like this little
It
tiny
strikes me
group
as
of people
odd, that's all.
here
Like,
that
how
the
did you
vast majority
arrive
of you
there?
disagree with. They are now what we're going to assume all of you believe, even though that has never been the case, and probably never will be the case, and does not apply to most of you. And I guess to finish off, there's some kind of subcategories that aren't really required to be trans med, but that kind of are common beliefs among trans medicalists just because the ideology
This is so convoluted. Why can't you just say that, like, anybody who wants to be a man can be one, anybody who wants to be a woman can be one, anybody who wants to be neither or both can be that? And then, like, let them go to their doctors and let them and their doctors decide which treatments are best for them. Isn't that so much simpler? That makes life so much simpler. I know that I've been really mean this whole time, and I did mean to not do that. But, like, I feel like I'm a little justified, right? I'll try to lighten up a little bit, but like we're already at the end of the video anyway, for one. And for two, it's infuriating. It's infuriating. Like, this person's acting like they know anything about medicine. And they don't even know the first thing about, like, why we should care whether a brain is male or female. Okay, it's interesting, I guess, but that's about the extent of it. It doesn't actually matter when it comes to trans healthcare. Okay? The only thing that matters is that a trans person needs healthcare and a doctor is willing to provide it. It's the only thing that matters. The shortage bullshit is just that. It's bullshit, okay? It's fear-mongering.
results in these often,
There's no
which
shortage
is
of trans
being
healthcare.
against xenogenders, being against noun pronouns. A lot of them don't support pansexual, which I'm kind of on the fence on. I don't really have a fully formed opinion on
Pansexual?
that.
Why?
But not liking pansexual is a common belief.
I don't have a fully formed opinion on that. Let me help you out. Don't worry about it.
Being against non-binary
Why
or
it doesn't
even
affect you?
lesbians, the idea that pronouns are gendered. None of those things are inherent to being transmedicalist, and there are transmedicalist people who agree and disagree with
Hold on, I want to see that thing about lesbians.
non-binary or he, him lesbians, the idea
He, him lesbians are valid.
that pronouns are gendered. None of those things are inherent to being transmedicalist, and there are transmedicalist people who agree and disagree with each of those opinions. However, the idea that being trans
And
is
the ones that if they disagree with me on any of those things, they're wrong. And they're more than welcome to come on and prove me wrong. But until then, they're wrong.
a medical condition, and that it is based in your neurology, and that you need dysphoria. That all kind of culminates in how the hell do you have dysphoria if you're cat plushy gender? That doesn't make logical sense. It does not work with the current neurology, etc.
So what? So what? Why are you trying to dissect people's brains? Stop that. That's weird. Your brain isn't cat gender. Stupid. You dummy. Sit down, sweaty. Like this is stupid. This is stupid. Come on, you're a good artist. Focus on your art. Like what is all this? You built you're a great artist and you built a YouTube off of this? Really? That's such a waste, man. Have some standards for yourself.
And I mean, I could go on tangents of how all of those relate to it, but I'm not going to. I didn't want this video to be too long. And it's still shorter than most of my other videos. So I'm going to end it there. If anyone has any specific questions, I will leave a pinned comment that you can reply to. And I may, depending on how many good questions are asked, I may make a comment response video to comments left on this video. We'll see. Check the description for sources on all of the science I referenced.
The sources don't matter. This is the one time that I will. This is one of the first times I've ever said that the sources do not matter. I've not been given a reason to care about these sources. This is like having a conversation about I don't know, like dogs and dog feces and like what to look for in dog feces to determine whether or not they're sick, right? And you're like, oh, here's one about cats and their fur. This is the cat fur. Right? Like, it's not related. Well, they're both animals. No, they're not related.
Hold on.
Yeah, that was stupid. They do have he has a follow-up. Do you guys want to watch the follow-up? It's shorter. I kind of want to just cover all the bases because this one's a lot more recent. It's from 3 months ago. Let's do the follow-up.
Hey guys, so I know I've covered this topic before, but I rewatched my old video on it, and it's rough to say the least, so I just want to cover it better.
The video was from a year ago. We shall see.
I guess, because I think it's important, so let's just get into it.
I'm keeping my hopes up. Oh god, that's so loud. Sorry, it's nothing against you, it's just loud.
So before I go any further, I want to address what gatekeeping is. Well, I'm sure most people understand.
We're going over furries. We're going over a transmed furry's view on like how trans people work. It has nothing to do with them being a furry.
Is as a general concept. The argument I'm kind of going against here often boils down to gatekeeping is bad, though. The main point of this video is that I don't believe gatekeeping has an inherent moral value. Gatekeeping can be abusive and discriminatory.
Well, yeah, but when we say gatekeeping, we're invoking the idea of doing it to something that's frivolous, that there's no reason to gatekeep. If I gatekeep drugs from kids, then yeah, that's good. But come on, this is disingenuous already. You know that people are not referring to that when they say gatekeeping, and you have to prove still that gatekeeping trans healthcare is good, and you have not done that, and you've recognized that your past video was not very good. So I'm gonna give you a chance here.
But gatekeeping can also keep communities safe or maintain resources that need protection, and it can also be neutral or completely irrelevant. I'm going to give some very straightforward examples of good or bad gatekeeping that I think we can all agree upon, just to prove a point, but please keep in mind that I don't necessarily think transmedicalism is as serious as some of these topics. I'm just listing them because I think they're very easy to...
trans, but not on T. Stop, you're transvestigating. No, not going to have that.
Agree upon.
You can be on T and still have a higher voice, okay?
An obvious example I think can be agreed as good or at least harmless is that cishet people are not considered LGBT. Gatekeeping is the act of preventing a specific group from accessing a specific resource or community, and cishet people are not a part of the LGBT community.
Sorry, I gotta rewatch that. It was very fast.
Is that cishet people are not considered LGBT. Gatekeeping is the act of preventing a specific group from accessing a specific resource or community, and
cishet people they're not gate kept from LGBT. Like cishet people go all the time to like queer meetups, and like they're allies. They're considered allies, and they're proud to be allies. Most of them. Like this doesn't make any sense. It's not gatekeeping.
Cishet people are
That's labeling.
not a part of the LGBT community. That is gatekeeping, and it's not a bad thing. Another.
Okay, let me ask you this: you are a cishet dad, and your daughter is 13, and she says, "Dad, I just don't like boys. I think they're yucky. I want to date a girl." Okay, and so now your 13, 14-year-old daughter, whatever, brings home a girl, all right, starts dating her. Maybe falls in love with her. Maybe starts kissing her, whatever. And then they turn like 25, 26, whatever, still together, and then they get married. You, as a cishet dad, are now pretty well part of the LGBT community, okay? You're part of it, and you are part of it as well, even if you just have LGBT friends, by the way. Let me give you another example. I studied deaf culture and ASL in college. Not for too long, like 3 semesters. But I got a basic understanding of deaf culture and ASL, right? Which is American Sign Language, for those who don't know. And in the deaf community, you have a lot of instances of children who are deaf, who have parents who are not deaf, okay? Now, it would be very silly, I think, to consider that child part of the deaf community, but not the parents. Because the parents are still very much involved with and dealing with the community. Now, you could make an argument if the dad's a deadbeat and he doesn't give a shit about his kids, then yeah, him, he's not part of the community. He doesn't care about his kids. But as long as the parents are involved in these deaf activities, they're part of the community. They're not deaf themselves, but they are part of the community. So this is nonsense already. Are you drawing furry shit? This is not mine. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I'm not good at drawing, so I'll leave the furry shit to the furry artists.
Example of good gatekeeping is requiring a degree to work in certain
I'm also
fields.
just not that
You
interested
wouldn't let
in
someone
drawing
without
it.
a medical degree perform surgery on you. It can also be seen that this is necessary in instances where people do provide medicine without a license, often resulting in complications, or alternative medicines such as Black Solve or MMS being extremely dangerous yet supported by unregulated.
I keep doing this and I need to stop. I'm sorry. I need to go back again. It's hard because he's talking very fast and I'm also trying to read chat, so I apologize.
That this is necessary in instances where people do provide medicine without a license, often resulting in complications, or alternative medicines such as Black Solve or MMS being extremely dangerous yet supported by unregulated.
So you're saying we gatekeep medicine from people who haven't studied medicine? Gatekeep the ability to provide medicine from people who have not studied how to provide medicine? Yes. I guess you could technically call that gatekeeping. But that's a leap and a jump away from gatekeeping trans shit.
Regulated alternative medicine quote-unquote practitioners.
That's gatekeeping based on study
example of
and
bad gatekeeping
licensure.
is TERFs. There's no danger presented in considering trans women. Misogyny hurts trans women and cis women, and there's no benefit to excluding trans women from being talked about and advocated for when discussing feminism. There's also completely neutral examples. You wouldn't consider someone who hates anthropomorphic animals to be a
it's really
furry.
not the right word. Okay, technically you could call it gatekeeping, but that's more of a social colloquial term. You know what I mean? It doesn't refer to laws. Okay, we gatekeep murderers from the public. Oh, okay. Well, that explains a lot, right? What do you mean gatekeep? Yeah, I guess technically they're kept behind a gate, literally, huh? But I feel like that term is so colloquial that it's just nonsense here. Like it sounds like nonsense, okay? Because you're trying to compare two things that are completely different.
It's not exactly protecting anything to consider those people not furries,
true.
but it's also not hurting anyone either. It's just what the word means.
Well, you can call it gatekeeping if you legislate. But yes, legislating against would be the more proper way to put it.
The point is to consider those people not furries, but it's also not hurting anyone either. It's just what the word means. The point of this is that gatekeeping has no inherent value. It's a neutral action that can cause harm, but can also protect people.
Those were horrific examples to make that point. I agree with the point. It's that meme that's you did the work wrong, but somehow got the correct answer.
It's context dependent. Where I'm obviously going to go from here is that as a transmedicalist, I don't deny that I'm gatekeeping. I think to do so would be dishonest and honestly counterproductive, considering I think transmedicalism is a beneficial form of gatekeeping. I'm not really going to go into why I'm a transmedicalist too much.
I'll take back the you for now. If you can convince me that transmedicalism is a good, legitimate form of gatekeeping, then I will take it back, and I'll leave it back. So the you is now suspended in midair like this, hovering over you. But if you disappoint me...
in this video, nor the science behind it or the like, but I will have a card in the corner and links in the description to videos where I do talk
Hanging
about those
precariously,
things,
my friend. Tread carefully.
Or whatever, just want to check it out. But to continue from that, I don't think preventing non-dysphoric people from being a part of the trans community or accessing trans healthcare is harmful. While in a perfect world, we would have an endless amount of surgeons and HRT and gender therapists.
It's the same argument as the last video. Fuck you.
So there's no wait times or shortages.
Already.
That's not a world we live in, nor is it a world that we're even close to. If we lived in that world, I would be much more okay with non-dysphoric people receiving HRT and trans-affirming surgeries, and I do think that that's something we should strive for, though I do have some notes on that I'll get back to later. Currently,
once again, never applied to any other area of medicine.
There is a testosterone shortage, something that I've been personally...
Okay, let's talk about that. Testosterone shortage. If that is a legitimate shortage, then doctors will start having to do what's called, I can't think of the word right now, triage, right? Triage, basically. Now I don't know. Does it technically qualify as triage? Or is it just rationing medications? Rationing in medicine. Yeah, triage. Okay? For those who don't know, triage means when you have a shortage of resources in medicine, which does happen, especially in like emergency situations, you have to decide who needs the help the most, okay? Who's worth helping the most. So there is like in emergency situations like natural disasters, basically what you do is you go and place like flags on people or like cards or something. I forget what the proper term is, but cards we'll go with. If somebody gets a black card on them, that basically means they're okay. There's nothing you can do to help them. They're going to die. You need to leave them, okay? Because there's no point helping them. You're wasting resources. If somebody gets a red card, that means that they need the most resources. That means that they need the most immediate help now, okay? There's like a card for like, oh, they're hurt, but they can still get up and help. And so if they can get up and help, they should, like try to get them to help you because you're short on resources. So yeah, get your ass up and help. Oh, your arm's broken? Suck it up. That mom's kid just died. Like, get up, stuff like that. So when it comes to medical shortages of like testosterone or Adderall, right? There will be triage, okay? And that's handled by the state and by the medical professionals, who should be a part of the state, but I digress. So the medical professionals in coordination with the state will decide who needs the medicine and which areas need the medicine the most. Now, unfortunately, in our up society, often that means the rich get it because that's who they prioritize, okay? But in an ideal world, that would mean that the people who need it most get it. So you could say like, listen, there's a shortage of testosterone right now. We're going to get it for you as fast as we can. But for right now, I can't get it for you. You just don't qualify. You simply don't qualify. And I'm sorry. And that sucks. And that's life. That happens. Okay. But there aren't doctors going around freely throwing testosterone like you're at a crowd, right? Oh, everyone look under your seat. There's a free vial of testosterone. Hey, oh, you're not even trans? Who cares? Take it. Hey, like that doesn't happen. That's very silly. Okay. Doctors and the government take care of that. They take care of the triage. They take care of the rationing. They handle it. Not very well, usually, but they do.
Affected by as
hopefully
a trans
that made
man.
sense.
There are increasingly long wait lists to even meet with surgeons, let alone receive the surgery, and even wait lists to see gender therapists.
Okay. So what should we do? Instead of blaming people who don't deserve it, how about we work on ways to improve that increased need? Because clearly there's an increased need, right? So if there's an increased need, how about we incentivize people to go study that? How about we incentivize companies to start producing that, the medicine, right? Like there are other methods other than just saying, hey, well, you're not trans enough. See, you're not trans enough. You don't have dysphoria bad enough. So you don't get anything. That's stupid. There are better solutions. I believe in better solutions. Call me an optimist, but I believe that there are better solutions.
Places these lists can go up to 4 or 5 years long. While there is, of course, an aspect of transness being more openly spoken about and therefore more people seeking HRT who wouldn't have otherwise, there's also been a massive increase in non-dysphoric people seeking HRT, something that has resulted in discussion...
How can you have long wait lists and say access to trans healthcare is easy? No. He was saying that people overestimate how easy the access is. He's consistent on that.
Among medical communities and the trans community alike about the
Thank you, Adric. Adric's very smart.
Of informed consent and requirements to receive that care, as well as an influx of detrans individuals.
Yeah, Adric actually fucking had to do triage, so Adric knows this shit.
Were non-dysphoric and therefore upset by the changes, becoming angry with trans people in the medical field for allowing them to take these medications. It takes about 3 seconds to find posts of non-dysphorics admitting they lied to their doctors to receive HRT or even surgeries. Trans people, i.e. dysphoric people, die on wait lists. It's becoming increasingly common to see news out...
Sorry, I gotta go back.
medications. It takes about 3 seconds to find posts of non-dysphorics admitting they lied to their doctors to receive HRT or even surgeries.
I'm not going to sit here and advocate for you guys lying to your doctors, but we live in very turbulent times, my friends. I'm not in the room with you. Whatever you do is on you, man. You know, just try to be honest and try to be considerate of other people. But, like, okay, why are you mad at them and not the insurance companies? Oh, somebody lied to their doctor so that they could get on HRT? Oh, shit, dude, that sucks. Hey, how about you go get mad at the insurance companies? The only reason you're mad at them is because you think you can control them better. It's weak pussy shit. It's weak pussy shit is what it is. I believe that we can take down those insurance companies. I believe it's possible. Not tomorrow, not next year, but eventually. And I'm working on that, okay? And in the meantime, there's going to be some triage and there's going to be some medication shortages, and the government and the doctors will handle that the way that they do. All right, but for right now, my main goal is making it so that these fucking insurance agencies will actually give us the medications that we need. All right, and the companies will actually produce them.
Trans people, i.e. dysphoric people, die on wait lists. It's becoming increasingly common.
Some doctors have to be lied to because they believe in AGP nonsense. Yeah, that too. And that's sometimes your only doctor. You know, there are circumstances where, yes, you should lie to your doctor. You know what? Hey, I'll advocate for it in this case. Let's say that you have a doctor that doesn't believe that you need a knee replacement unless your knee is shattered. Like, just shattered, right? Like, in a million pieces. Oh, your knee has like a hairline fracture? It's fine. We don't need a replacement. Like, okay, I know you're 60 and like it's the 5th time you've broken it. It's just a hairline fracture. And I know your pain's like 4 out of 10 constantly. And you can't walk on it very well without like significant pain, but you don't need it. You don't need it. You don't need it, right? Yeah, lie to him. Because you do need it. Fucking lie to him. Say, oh, no, actually, like, it is shattered. It hurts. Oh, ow, 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 I say. Ow. You know? Yeah, it. He's not doing his job. Lie to him.
To see news articles, social media posts, and even documentaries about trans people trying or succeeding in taking their own lives over the inaccessibility of trans healthcare. I don't want to put this
and that's obviously the fault of other trans people, right? I want you guys to... Here, let's play that again. Let's let this soak in.
It takes about 3 seconds to find posts of non-dysphorics admitting they lied to their doctors to receive HRT or even surgeries. Trans people, i.e. dysphoric people, die on wait lists. It's becoming increasingly...
There we go. So this person just blamed those people on Twitter for the deaths of other trans people.
Common to see news articles, social media posts, and even documentaries about trans people trying or succeeding in taking their own lives over the inaccessibility of trans healthcare. I don't want to put this all on non-dysphoric people. It's absolutely
not all of it. Just, just a teensy bit, just as flavor, right?
Within the medical field as well, but there is a blatant disregard by non-dysphoric people for the fact that trans healthcare is a medical necessity for trans people. I've gotten comments and seen posts from non-dysphoric people joking that they're going to quote...
Yeah, and they don't consider non-dysphoric people to be trans either. So once again, dude, just you.
Quote, steal your trans resources, because to them, it's not a serious topic.
There's all you've proven is that you'd rather go after victims of the system than the system itself. We're all in this shitstorm together, okay? So we might as well work together to try to get the fuck out of it as best we can. You're crabs in a bucket mentality. This is disgusting. This is freak shit.
An issue of the political climate surrounding transness right now.
I've lost all respect.
I'm not saying this as a quote-unquote pick-me or trying to look good, affecting the image of trans people because xenogenders are cringe or the like, but the fact that these people are often sometimes the loudest about quote-unquote being trans while having greatly different needs than actual trans people. While some
non-gender people are trans people. They don't identify with their original gender assigned at birth. They're trans, okay? You can call it invalid if you want, but they don't identify
if not more, who
as male or female.
Like,
they're trans.
Quote, dysphoria is internalized transphobia, or quote, passing is transphobic, etc. People who not only actively...
I'll even add this. Here, let's say that we have a xenogender wolf gender, okay? Wolf gender. All right, let's say that the just as an example. Maybe this does exist, so I won't make fun of it. Maybe this does exist, but let's take this as an example, okay? Wolf gender. Now, wolf gender person, we'll call him, I don't know, we'll just call him Wolf, okay? We'll call him Wolf. So Wolf looks in the mirror. Wolf sees that he does not have a beard, okay? As a wolf gender person, that's important to him. So what does he do? He goes to the doctor and explains, listen, I'm wolf gender. I know this sounds weird, but I'm wolf gender and I need you to hear me out. I look in the mirror and I see that I don't have a beard. And as a wolf gender person, that hurts. You know, like I can't grow a beard for whatever reason. And I would, you know, I'm dysphoric about it. I would like to be able to grow a beard as a wolf gender person. That is important to me. A good doctor, guess what they'll say? Okay, here's a prescription for testosterone. Now go grow your beard, bud. And that's it. And that's it. That's real, legit dysphoria, and that person is receiving trans healthcare. And that's fine. Tell me anything that's wrong with what just happened. Tell me a single thing. The only reason I can think is if you think that that person doesn't have real dysphoria and doesn't deserve it, which is what you do think, because you don't trust the doctors. Okay, you don't trust the Endocrine Society. You don't trust the Psychiatric Association. You don't trust any of these people. Okay, why should I trust you on anything?
As their birth gender and therefore are not generally clockable in public and never have been and never will be.
No beard for you. You're not trans enough.
Cis, but who also aren't affected by the plethora of
By the way, I just want to say that ended up being a really good example, better than I thought initially.
Bills targeting our medical care. They are.
Wait. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. Here, wait. Let's listen to that again.
Is transphobic, etc.
Okay.
People who not only actively present as their birth gender and therefore are not generally clockable in public and never have been and never will be, as they are functionally cis, but who also aren't affected by the plethora of anti-trans bills targeting our medical care. They are, of course, angry at the laws, thankfully, but they don't understand what the actual needs of trans people are. It's common to see them share unsafe DIY.
Okay, did I miss something? I'm going to go back a little bit more because I think I missed something.
Transphobia or, quote, passing is transphobic, etc. People who not only actively present as their birth gender and therefore are not generally clockable.
People who not only actively present. Sorry, these sentences are a little bit of a mess, man.
Present as their birth gender and therefore are not generally clockable.
Not only actively present as their birth gender and therefore are not generally clockable
in public and never have been and never will be, as they are functionally cis, but who also aren't affected by the
farther. Okay, I'll just go back to the beginning of the segment. Sorry about this, both Dubsy and the audience. Apologies.
Political climate surrounding transness right now. I'm not saying this as a quote-unquote pick-me or trying to look good affecting the image of trans people because xenogenders are cringe or the like, but the fact that
okay, wait. God, he talks so fast.
People because...
I'm not trying to say being a pick-me or trying to look good affecting... I'm not saying this...
quote-unquote pick-me or trying to look good affecting the image of trans people because xenogenders are cringe or the like, but the fact that these people are often sometimes the loudest about quote-unquote being trans while having greatly different needs than actual trans people. While some non-dysphoric people go through medical transition, there are just as many, if not more, who use phrases like, quote, dysphoria is internalized transphobia or, quote, passing is transphobic, etc.
Okay, both of those are stupid. If you have dysphoria, that doesn't mean you're transphobic. That means that you live in a transphobic society. That's where dysphoria comes from, okay? And I know this person doesn't think that. I just wanted to point that out. That's not something that I believe. And also, passing is transphobic. What? Passing is arbitrary. Passing only exists because we live in a gender-cucked society, okay? Everyone's gender-cucked. Everyone's gender-cucked these days. They didn't have gender when I was young.
People who not only actively
back in my
present as
day,
their
we
birth
were just
gender
people.
and therefore are not generally clockable
Return
in
to
public
tradition.
and never have been and never will be, as they are functionally cis, but who also aren't affected by people who not only actively present as their birth gender and therefore are not generally clockable in public and never have been and never will be,
I think
as
I'm
they are
on it.
functionally cis, but who also aren't affected by the plethora of anti-trans bills targeting our medical care. They are, of course, angry at the laws, thankfully.
Oh, so he's saying that people who are functionally cis because they've just never had issues with their care are also saying these things that affect the care of others. It's all just like finger pointing and blaming is what it is.
Don't understand what the actual needs of trans people are. It's common to see them share
You have no... Okay, I just had a discussion with somebody about this from another trans person. You have no clue what those people's experiences are. How dare you? How dare you?
Safe DIY HRT resources with minors, advocate for no regulation or minimal regulation on HRT or surgery, simply for whoever wants it, ignoring the detrans issues, among others mentioned before. And
the issues of supply and demand, right? You're a supply and demand guy. You want to lick the boots of the corporate overlords and say, yes, daddy, we don't have enough. Oh, you're right, we don't have enough. Surely there's no way to get any more. We have to blame the other person who's forced to lick your boot against their will, but at least I'm doing it consensually, right? Yes, daddy, and more, please. More abuse, please. Right?
Even
abuse
oversharing
them too.
Information that may make stealth people
as long
more
as they're getting
clockable,
abused
such as
worse,
an
it's
uptick in
fine.
people calling attention to top surgery scars or phalloplasty skin graft sites. While this is done with good intention to normalize those aspects of trans bodies, in reality, people who would have never been able to clock you may be able to now, and that could
Who
be as simple
cares?
as breaking someone's ability to
Fuck
be stealth,
them.
or putting them in life-threatening situations that these people don't face, as they are functionally cis in their day-to-day.
Okay, is he saying that like people won't be able to get that like quote unquote cosmetic stuff done to cover the scars up, and like this is just more like appealing to the shortage of resources, which is artificial. Like it's silly.
lives
Silly
and aren't
bullshit.
at risk of being hate crimed or attacked or kicked out, etc. I don't think any of this is done with negative intentions, mind you, but this is where the gatekeeping is necessary. These people are not trans, do not understand trans experiences, yet are told that they are just as trans and therefore just as justified to speak about these topics, to take the limited resources, and to educate or more so misinform others about trans experiences and issues.
You have no right, man. You're the one misinforming people. You're the one spreading misinformation. Like, this video is almost worse than the first one, man. What's wrong with you?
All while lacking the actual experience of a trans person to adequately do so. Before I continue to the note I made earlier, I also want to point something out.
Guess what? You lack their experience. You lack their life experience. So where do you get the gall to say that they're valid or not? That's not fair, man. That's a double standard you're applying.
A lot of self-identified non-dysphorics are dysphoric. Inclusionists have spread for years that dysphoria is suffering.
Oh, good. Okay, so good. So if somebody says that they don't have dysphoria, now I can point at them and say, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Like, I can't know if somebody has dysphoria unless they tell me. Now, if they're saying all the symptoms of dysphoria, and then they say I don't have dysphoria, now you have a case. Now you can say, no, actually you are dysphoric, dude. And you need to get some medical attention. But so if that, okay, I'll reel back a little bit. If that's where he's going with it, then I agree. But typically people know if they have dysphoria. The way that it works is you have the dysphoria before you even know what it is. Okay? It's the same way you get a stomach pang before you know that you have an appendicitis that needs to be taken out. Okay? You don't have a word for it. You go to the doctor and you get the word for it. And then you get the treatment for it. That's how that works.
And while that can be true for some, dysphoria is simply discomfort with your birth sex. There are a lot of people with more mild dysphoria who self-identify as non-dysphoric for that reason.
Dysphoria is any discomfort with your body. Like with how your body presents, okay? That's dysphoria. You can have dysphoria about your beard. You can have dysphoria about your balls. You can have dysphoria about your tits. All kinds of things. It can be gender related or not.
Reason.
In fact, you could argue that I had dysphoria about the scars on my arms.
And I want to note that I'm not talking about those people. Moving on from that, earlier in the video, I said that I had a note about if we could actually provide HRT and surgery for both dysphoric and non-dysphoric people, and I want to touch on that here. If we lived in a world where both trans and cis individuals could access HRT and surgeries with no conflict of interest, I would be supportive of that with a caveat.
With a caveat? Wait, why? What's the caveat? I'm interested.
I still don't think those people should be considered trans, and I think that there should be a distinction made on if a surgery or medication is taken to mitigate a medical condition, dysphoria, or if it's done with cosmetic purposes.
Okay, you better have a damn good explanation for why.
Body modification is something I support. Your body is yours to do.
Oh, you're not going to
what you
explain
choose
it?
with.
Okay, cool.
However, making a distinction in trans individuals versus cis individuals is important here for a few reasons. For one, unfortunately,
in an ideal society, there's no trans and no cis. If I get to build the world, there's no trans and no cis. There's no gay and no straight. There's no boy, there's no girl, there's no man, there's no woman, there's no non-binary. There's people. There's people. Okay? Get rid of the gender shit. Don't be gender cucked, okay? Stop that.
Even if it only happens in
You're living in the
amounts,
Matrix.
Transition regret is
This person is living in the Matrix, literally.
Always going to play a role in how these procedures are regulated, unfortunately. Currently, most transition-related is important here for a few reasons. For one, unfortunately, even if it only happens in very small amounts, transition regret is always going to play a role in how these procedures are regulated, unfortunately.
Oh, good. We're going to do a little bit of fear-mongering about the regrets. Cool.
Currently, most transition-related surgeries are viewed as cosmetic. Not only does that make them less likely to be covered by insurance in the US, or make them underserved through the NHS in the UK or similar health systems, but affect how they are viewed by doctors weighing the risks of performing them. Complications.
Okay, if that affects that doctor's opinion, then that doctor's a dumb shit. If a doctor's being told, well, you see, that surgery that you're doing on all these people is actually cosmetic. And then the doctor's like, oh, well, you know, I never thought about it like that. Now that you mention it, maybe I shouldn't be doing. No, that's not how that works.
and accessibility would be
They have
seen as
training.
more of a dire issue and addressed more urgently if trans healthcare was viewed as a medical necessity. However, this is not the case for everyone who receives it. A breast reduction for cosmetic purposes versus a breast reduction due to back problems are not treated the same. This should be the case for trans healthcare just like every other medical procedure.
You know what it should be? Doctor says you need it, you get it. Very simple. Everyone tries to complicate all this shit. It's not complicated. Doctor says you need it, you get it. Boom.
Procedure of this type. That can be elective or can be a necessity.
Done.
Second, about why these people shouldn't be considered trans. Cis people receiving these surgeries or HRT still do not fit the definition of transgender or transsexual, and it's a bit of a problem that trans spaces are filled with cis people, drowning out actual opinions. And
I legitimately am about to turn this off. Like, I'm gonna get through the rest of it, but I'm tuning out. I'm tuning out. It's so dumb.
From those actually going through the same things as you. As I mentioned earlier, it's rather common to hear phrases claiming a desire to pass or severe dysphoria is actually internalized transphobia. You should be able to seek advice on passing, managing dysphoria, etc. without these kinds of unhelpful...
I've never heard that argument, by the way. I feel like, I don't think he's making it up, but whoever he got this from is a super fringe group that he, like, had a Twitter thread argument with once.
Interactions from cis people. Something I think is rather interesting in regards to this is that the r/TrueScum subreddit, while it absolutely does have a lot of discussion about discourse and transmed ideas, is also filled with people making normal posts about being trans. Selfies asking how to pass better, advice on coming out, experience...
Oh, dude, you don't understand. The Nazi subreddit has a bunch of normal posts, like people saying the weather. It's all good.
...with different surgeons, attempting to be stealth at a new school or job, etc. I don't think it's surprising that so much of that community is just talking about everyday trans experiences, and that they often receive much more helpful and less hugboxing type responses than a subreddit like, for example, our...
No, by hugboxing, you just mean not rude as shit, like you. Okay? There's a difference between hugboxing and just being an asshole. And you're an asshole.
/FTM. Obviously, this isn't meant to be an example.
It's not other people needing a hug box. That's you being an asshole. You are an asshole. Okay? If everybody around you is telling you you're an asshole, you probably are one.
Trans spaces as a whole, I just think it's interesting to point out the differences between them. At the end of the day...
Oh, he just thinks it's interesting. He's just a little guy. He's just a little guy doing his thing, right? He's a normal little dude. Just a normal little dude. Stick with your art, man. Your art's great. Your art looks great. Look at that. Look, here. I'll turn my camera off for this. I want to respect this man for a second. This man has artistic prowess. And I want to recognize that. Look at this. It's great. It looks great. It's cute. It's adorable. Just do this. People love this. It's great. Why would you stiff yourself like this? Do you know how much audience you're losing by doing this? Really? Like, I know that you actually believe this shit. I know you're not grifting. Okay, so I will cede you that at least. I don't think you're grifting at least. But I just want to talk, man. I just want to talk. I think that's what it comes down to. I just need to talk to this guy and figure out what the hell's going on, because this is great art, okay? And I genuinely feel bad that you're shooting yourself in the foot like this. It's sad, man. It's sad. So, you know, let's just talk. Let's talk. I reached out to a lot of people, and they all ghost me. Usually they're dumbass conservatives, but like, I genuinely would like to talk to this guy. I know that I've shit on him a lot, and he deserves it, and I stand by it. But I do think if I could just talk to him, maybe we could even come to an understanding. I don't know. You know, I do try to think the best of people. I just don't know how he came to this brain dead conclusion. You know, just focus on your art, man. It's good art.
People are hurt by being excluded from a community that they're harming and don't have anything in common with. It's not the job of trans people to validate them or make them feel better. I care much more about access to healthcare and the mental health of dysphoric people, transmed or not, than I do.
I also care about the access to healthcare. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we can dick the insurance companies and other corporations who are literally gatekeeping drugs from people who need them. It's not other trans people's fault, man. It's not.
About if people who are harming us feel like I'm welcoming to them or if they need my validation. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hade.
Ugh, what a mess. What a mess. So yeah, that was one of the videos of all time, man. Two of the videos of all time, I should say. It just sucks. Just focus on your art, dude. Godless snowshoe. Like, come on. What is this garbage? I don't really have much else to say about it. Just don't be an asshole. You know, like, just let people live their damn lives. This triage nonsense, like, or it's not nonsense. Triage is real, but like this nonsense about like there not being enough resources or enough this or that. It's not true. It's nonsense. It's bullshit. Okay, you're bullshitting me. There's plenty. There's plenty of resources. If we start to run out, then we can talk. All right. I know there was a testosterone shortage you brought up, and I talked about it, and I said how that goes. Okay. That's not the responsibility of people who are, trans seeking care to handle. That's not their responsibility. Okay. If there's a shortage, people might lie to get their testosterone. That's just a consequence of there being a shortage. So the focus should not be scolding those people. The focus should be getting the shortage problem fixed. Okay. Because there's usually a way to fix it 9 times out of 10. So let's focus on that, Stop blaming stop blaming other trans people. Like, what is this, man? You know how bad the country is right now? Do you know how many other people deserve the finger pointed at them? Not like this xenogender wolf person on Twitter who works 3 minimum wage jobs just to make ends meet, maybe has a kid or 2 and divorced and like think about this for 2 seconds, man. Like, you don't know these people's lives, and it's not their responsibility to make sure that you get your medicine, okay? It's not up to them. It's up to your doctors and our government and the insurance agencies. So bully the government to get rid of the insurance agencies, and that should make things a lot easier. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload. If you enjoy my content, you enjoy what I do, I really appreciate any financial help that I can get. Go to youtube.com/AlecGunterTTV/join. You got some awesome benefits, such as seeing early videos, awesome emotes that you can use in the comments of YouTube videos, and a sweet badge next to your name. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd really appreciate if you join. It is cheaper than the cost of a blowjob from your mom. So with all that being said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.